seen them in Walmart and on peopleofwalmart.com. You've laughed at the absurdity, and you've commented on how those people need help. Well, now there's a way that you can. For only 30 cents per day, you can change the life of an obese, fashion-impaired dredge on society with the Adopt a Lardass program not sponsored by Walmart. Your 30 cents a day will allow for programs to be created to educate these whatevers on personal hygiene, diet and exercise, good health and dental habits, and how to handle real-life situations in a manner less like a gorilla and more like a civilized human being. So go today to peopleofwalmart.com and scan through the many photos of adoptable lardasses. Then go to PayPal and send your donation today.
The Adopt a Lardass program is a fake charity created for the purpose of making fun of lardasses for our entertainment. There is no actual charity to donate to, however, if you would like to give money anyway, we are happy to take it. Send all payments to revmike420@gmail.com. Now back to our regularly scheduled crap fest.
Hey everybody, welcome to the 420 Hour. It's Reverend Mike, the Zoo Crew's right behind us. We'll get to them in just a minute. I want to talk about the issues tonight before we get to the funny stuff, and we've got some real funny shit coming up, so stay tuned through the issues. We're going to talk about new welfare drug testing policies in 4 states. Kentucky, Missouri, Nebraska, and Oregon. All passed.
Which we never thought would lead the way to a better country.
That's one opinion, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But first, I'm going to make my case. I'm going to let Willie tell his case first.
You go ahead, because I'm trying to get this on the internet and look. Like I said, I need time to research. I just heard about it and expressed my pleasure with it. Not sexual, unfortunately.
It's hard to see your face through the Bud Light.
Well, it's probably better. I mean, seriously, go ahead and explain what you think.
All right.
I mean, you started the show. You have...
I took notes.
Yeah, asshole.
It's being called a pseudo-populist demagoguery. Now,
I just like the word demagoguery.
Do you know what demagoguery is? Demagoguery is playing on the fears and the emotions and the prejudices of people. And that's what these people are doing. And they're doing it in a pseudo-populist way because they're using drugs, which are a big problem in this country. But the problem is not really marijuana and cocaine and heroin. It's fucking prescription pills. But they don't seem to care about that. It gets them elected.
Heroin off the fucking hook.
Heroin, if used and cut with proper materials, it can be used over 30 years without ever killing you if used properly. You may die earlier, but if you maintain control and you're not getting dirty shit...
Well, we have to do one at a time. We have to be serious
please.
about this. But once Mike is cool, you get to talk first, because the internet's slow on my
Anyway, the ACLU, the American Public Health Association, the National Association of Social Workers, the National Association of Drug and Alcohol Abuse Counselors, and like 100 more groups are opposing these laws. And the 6th District Court of Appeals in Michigan said that the state cannot do drug testing on people. It violates their 4th Amendment rights against unlawful search and seizure. So these laws will never stand up, first of all. And second, all they do are punish children who will wind up starving because their parents can't get the food stamps they need, which are no longer given in a way they can get cash for them. They get food with these things on a card, and, you know, you're going to starve kids with these laws. That's all you're going to do because people smoke pot. You're not going to catch them doing pills or catch them doing anything else because you can't look at their pills because the Privacy Act of 1973 says you can't have information that's private between the doctor and patient unless you have a warrant. I'm talking to the government now. I hope you fuckers are listening.
They're not.
And the second thing about it is, like I said, you're just catching potheads because cocaine and heroin and all of that's out of your system in 24 hours time. So random drug testing is rarely going to catch anybody but somebody smoking pot. And the more you use it, the less likely you are to get caught. Because somebody that uses it once in a month is going to have that in their system for a month because it's going to store in their fat cells because their body is missing that chemical. It needs THC. We were born to have it. So it's going to stay in your system longer than somebody that gives it to them every day. When your cells get what they need every day, it dissipates faster, so you can get it out of your system faster. It's a scientific fact. Now, all that being said, just the simple fact that they're targeting the poor to make them more poor is sickening to me. So, somebody's going to answer, and I guess Lo gets the first forum. So let's give Lo the forum.
I want to know what you call.
Speak up a little bit.
I want to know what you call proper use of heroin.
If heroin is not cut with rat poison, like often is on the streets, if it's cut with proper materials that won't poison you, the heroin itself is non-toxic to your body, because opiates are also receptors in our body. We have opiate receptors and we have THC receptors. We're supposed to have these drugs because it helps us. You can live a long life on heroin if it's cut properly, but what happens...
Talking about using heroin medicinally.
Not even medicinally, even recreationally. You can use it for years. If it's regulated and controlled, it's going to be kept to where it's not going to kill you in a dose. It's going to be kept at a level dose. It's going to be kept cut with materials that aren't poisonous. So you're going to wind up with cleaner heroin. So even people using it, cleaner is just the first part. People using it aren't going to get sick and die because of the poisons people are cutting it on the street with. Second, it's not going to be as expensive as it is, because a regulated and controlled thing has free market capabilities that can create lower prices. So people that are used to paying $100 a hit for the shit, or whatever it is, I don't know, are now going to be paying $10. So they're not going to have to go and rob people. They can work their normal life and still survive with their habit, because it's not as expensive as it was. Prohibitionary costs make people steal for their drugs.
So that makes it okay to shoot it up?
If that's your choice, what's it to you? If you're not harming anybody else by doing it, what's it to me?
But can't you still harm yourself? You can still give yourself fucking Hep C.
Not if you have a clean, regulated system where each dose is in a needle already and you throw it away when you're done and you just spent $10.
What if you don't?
Why would you go to the street and pay more for illegal stuff when you can get a taxed and regulated version that's
What
clean?
if someone doesn't feel like using a different needle every time?
They wouldn't have a choice, because that's the way it would be sold. If it's taxed, regulated, and controlled, they can regulate how it's controlled and sold. So they sell it in single-use needles that you throw away. Why would you keep it? Because you're not getting just heroin to put in it.
If I could interject for a moment, I don't have a large contribution here. I do want to make known that alcohol is taxed and controlled and all that, but there's moonshine and bathtub gin and all that out there because it fucks you up more. So if a street version fucks you up more than the regulated version, people are going to be willing to go see it. You can turn it back to her.
I'm glad.
I have no retort for what I just said.
I actually want to respond to that, because I'm glad you brought that up, and since I've been talking so much, I'm going to actually face the camera at me. As far as moonshine and all that goes, you don't get bathtub gin anymore. Nobody's out there making shit that's going to make you go blind when you take a sip. Nobody's doing that anymore. But what you do have is you have gin stills out there where people are making their moonshine, and they're getting together and having competitions to see who has the best shine. They're using good ingredients. They're not using crap that's used to be illegal that made it crap. They're using quality ingredients and making quality product. You're not going to get the stuff that's going to make you go blind anymore. These people are like the underground pot movement. They have their competitions. They have their, like, pot growers have their strains that they grow. Moonshiners have their moonshine that they want to compete. And if it was all legal and regulated, it could be taxed. All the billions of dollars a year that are going into the drug markets and the moonshine markets and the everything else markets could turn this economy around in a heartbeat.
Yeah, but people are still gonna abuse the drug.
Right.
Probably more so because it would be legal.
No. Decriminalization in Portugal has proven that drug use drops drastically when it becomes legal, because it becomes boring. A lot of people that do drugs just do it because of the excitement of breaking the law.
What about addicts?
Addicts are addicts. That's a personality
That's what
thing.
I'm talking about.
If the system is created where you're not going to jail
But
for it and being
mortality
punished,
rate isn't gonna go up because of it.
because the cleaner the drugs, the less people will die, and only 29,000 people a year die from it now. All illicit drugs combined, not prescription pills. They kill like 250,000 people. All illicit drugs kill 29,000 people a year, according to the government. If they're saying it is probably an inflated number, which means they're probably killing 20,000. They inflated it probably 9,000. So if that's all it's killing, and it's illegal, and they're getting dirty shit, imagine if it was clean. How many fewer would die? And people are turning to prescription pills because they think they're legal drugs. They get the misunderstanding that just because it's legally sold and stuff, that's a safer alternative. When the real fact is that cocaine and heroin are safer than OxyContin and Loratabs.
Because they're synthetic.
No, not just because they're synthetic, but because the mortality rate with the prescription pills, whatever chemicals they're using, are killing people. People die from abusing prescription pills about 250,000 a year in this country. That's 10 times what the government says all the other illicit drugs combined kill. And that's not including the people that die by accident when they're actually using it by prescription, just because their body reacts. You know those commercials that say may increase asthma-related death? Yeah. You take a hit of that inhaler and boom, you're dead. That's a different figure, and that's around 150,000 a year. Prescription pills are killing almost 500,000 people a year, but they're worried about 29,000 people that would be cleaned up in a second. You might get 9,000 accidental deaths from overdose in a year if you have clean product out there.
Let me take a shot at this one.
Over to him.
All right. I don't think it's necessarily a matter of what drugs, what they can do to you, or if they're bad, or if they're good, blah, 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 blah. Fact of the matter is, if I get a job and I go work at Target, and Target tells me I got to wear a red shirt, whatever fucking color my shirt is does not affect my job performance. Fact of the matter is, the people that are paying me told me to wear a red shirt. If the people paying you and are supporting you are giving you the means to eat, and they tell you to do something, fucking do it. They don't want you to do drugs and shit. If you would rather, and when it comes to the kids and all that stuff, the kids are going to starve. If you would rather do drugs than go out and do something to take care of your kids, you don't serve the kids anyway.
Do you think my kids should lose their Medicaid because I smoke pot?
No, absolutely not.
Well, I would if I lived in Kentucky.
If they tell you not to do it, and they're paying for it.
But you know what? The government doesn't have the right to intrude on your personal body. The Constitution prevents unlawful search and seizure without a warrant. The government must obtain a warrant to get your fluids in any criminal action against you, and drugs are illegal, so therefore it's a criminal action against you. If they legalize drugs, they can test anybody they want. But that's the difference. It's a criminal action. They cannot test you right now because it's against your Fourth Amendment right to not have unlawful search. Not to mention, they take your DNA when they take your piss.
My thinking is if somebody's relying on somebody to take care of them, what they ask of you should comply.
So all those people that lost their jobs because the economy went in the toilet that are now getting food stamps deserve to lose their food stamps and let their kids starve just because they smoke a joint now and then.
If that's what they need, it shouldn't apply.
Then you shouldn't drink beer if you are on welfare.
I wouldn't. They told me not to. If that was the
Do you
deal.
think that would be right?
No, not at all.
Do you
It was a question of being right or wrong.
Well, that's the thing.
It's not a question of right or wrong.
We're talking
It's the law.
constitutionality here. The Fourth Amendment says the government cannot take your fluids without a warrant from a judge, signed by a judge, with probable cause. They have to have probable cause that you're doing drugs to take your blood in a criminal case against you. Why are they able to take it just because you're down on your luck and need some help?
If I was paid,
Isn't it the government's job to ensure the health and welfare of their citizens?
If Andy was staying at my house, and I was paying for Andy, and I was supporting Andy, and I told him, Andy, don't drink beer. Andy, are you going to drink beer?
I wouldn't, because you were giving me the courtesy of a place to stay and things like that.
You're taking care of somebody.
But that
you
is
ask them to do something.
that is a different story. You're not the government. You were talking about Target earlier in the red shirt. That's a private company.
Similar scenario, though.
But it's that he's breaking it down on a level of person to person, which is where I will take it. It is, Mike, what I'm saying, it is not a matter of, like I told Lauren, you and Lauren